Hello there, beer nerds. How's it going this week? I hope y'all are having a great week. I certainly am. Today I've got some cool beer news for you. But first, let's crack open a beer. Today I have the New Glarus Brewing Nut Brown Ale, which is one of my favorites. Just a really solid, brown ale. Nothing fancy, nothing special, but New Glarus Brewing out of New Glarus, Wisconsin makes some mighty fine beer. So I'm excited to get into this one. But I'm also excited to talk about some beer news that went on this week. There's a couple of interesting things that happened. First, BrewDog issued a cool open letter to, just anybody. But it's called Please Don't Steal Our Trademarks. And a while back on this channel, I had a short video on how the craft beer industry is really running out of names for beers. Just because there's, probably, I think we hit over 5,000 breweries recently here in the United States alone. But then, you start talking UK, the rest of Europe, just the amount of good available punny names for beer is just really, really running short. And even brewery names are getting harder to think of and come by too. But a lot of people kind of get mad when they see a story like what BrewDog did this week, because they feel like, oh, you're being a big player in the beer industry now. Just because you're successful means you can step on everyone else's toes like AB InBev does all the time, huh? And I get where that opinion comes from. Everybody wants craft beer to be a big, happy family. And to a certain extent it is. And I mean, BrewDog is certainly a big part of that. They released, a lot of their clone recipes for their beers to the homebrewing community, just, out of the goodness of their heart. So, I mean, to a certain extent, beer is, craft beer is a big, happy family. But we also have to remember that, BrewDog and other big breweries like them, they worked really hard, not only to get to the size that they're at. I understand that is an impossible task of crazy amounts of logistics and marketing that I am just not able to attain. But we have to remember that they took that ground from the big guys. They took that market share from AB InBev and the other big conglomerates that don't mind stepping on other people's toes. And so at a certain point, we kind of have to let them defend that ground that they got. We can't just be like, oh, you have to give up your ground because you're not playing ball with the rest of us. It's like, no, we have to respect that. Yeah, they are successful. They make some damn good beer, and we got to let them defend their space. Otherwise, who's going to come in and take it from them? It's probably not going to be a real small guy, but it's more likely going to be AB InBev. And if they're not able to defend their trademarks from a small bar trying to call themselves Draft Punk in the UK, they're not going to be able to defend themselves from the giant army of monotonous lawyers that AB InBev or other big brewing conglomerates is going to sick at them. So, as much as I want to be like, yeah, BrewDog's throwing their weight around a little bit, trying to, sue a bar that's going to call themselves Draft Punk, because their punk IPA is really super popular. But at the same time, we got to give them a little bit of respect for taking that share from the big guy and opening up the field and just not setting an example that, craft brew's here to stay and we're not going to get stomped on. I know, yeah. So that's my thoughts on that situation. Kind of weird. These beer trademarks in general are really weird. We have breweries suing all sorts of other breweries. I'll put a link to BrewDog's open letter as well as to my video on the subject. But in that video, I challenged people to try to think of a beer name that has hop in it that doesn't already exist. So if you're watching this on a computer, open up another tab in your browser right now and just try to think of a hop pun that doesn't already exist and type it into Google and see if it does. Because I'll tell you, things like Optimus Rex, Optimus Prime, Hop Brothers, like they're all out there. Like it's hard to make a beer name that's not already in use. Speaking of beer, that is tasty. One of the other cool things that I wanted to share with you this week is that there's this really cool group out of the state of Maine here in the U.S. That is partnering with an Icelandic shipping company to basically make a shipping container into a mobile beer spot for festivals. So what that means is that a whole bunch of brewers from the Portland, Maine area are going to load up one whole shipping container and ship that over to a festival in Reykjavik for this summer in June. And they're going to install 45 taps on the side of this shipping container. And they're going to have it at a big festival this summer. And I think this is really cool because in my last video, we went over just how complicated it was to even like grow and, to breed and grow and ship hops commercially. Now try to imagine being a brewer and trying to get a foothold in a new market where you have no market share, people haven't heard of your beers, and you don't really know anyone in the area. But, if local breweries team up to put on programs like this where they all aggregate their beer and ship it to a festival in a different area, and even cooler with this one, a different country, really easy way to start turning heads in a different place and opening up a new market in a new way that you never could before. And to have some aggregate experience in that logistics, I think is going to be really cool. And it'll be really cool when they start doing this all across the U.S. too, because right now they're just it's just like the Portland, Maine area brewers. They're all getting together with Icelandic brewers, and they're going to ship to Iceland, and then Iceland is going to send back that same container with a load of their beers for a July festival in Portland, Maine. So it all sounds really cool, and I hope this catches on because it seems like a really neat way to introduce your beer to a new marketplace and a new bunch of people that have never had it. And I really hope, I live here in Minnesota, so it's a little hard to do a big shipping container of beer somewhere. But maybe up in Duluth, across the big lake up there. But maybe one day we'll have big trucks that come here from California with 45 taps on the side. That would be really cool to see. But yeah, it's cool to see brewers, in this case, coming together to open up different markets for each other, to come together with their collective experiences and make some really, really cool experiences for drinkers in both Iceland and Maine. That's all I have for you this week, Beer Nerds. Please do not miss my video this Friday. It is going to be a really funny one. I'm doing something a little bit different than I normally do, but I think you all are going to really, really enjoy it. So please swing by on Friday. I release a new Beer by the Numbers episode every Friday, and this one is going to be a doozy. So I hope you all have a great week, and cheers.